The mods for my 2018 Audi S4 just keep coming. Today we'll be installing this X-pipe from ECS Tuning that replaces the rear resonator. Now this is supposed to increase the sound level with the exhaust valves open and keep kind of a closer to stock sound level with the valves closed. All you'll need to do is cut some exhaust piping. We're going to start by lifting the car. We're ready to remove the old exhaust section, which is going to be this mid resonator here. Now I have supported the back of it with a floor jack just to make sure that that back part doesn't damage our rear valence. Let's free up this exhaust hanger first. It is right in front of the center resonator. Front of the car faces that way. And there's a few different ways to do this without totally mangling it. There's special pliers, and then there's also just using some leverage with a bar or screwdriver. I'm just using leverage against the pipe here and just pulling it off. And you just want to make sure when you're using leverage, you don't use it against anything you shouldn't damage, like this is a fuel tank. You can also see we have a second one right up here, and that's kind of right on the back side. Here are the bolts that are holding this back section with the big resonator on. And the instructions do say to support this side, but if you look forward, there are some really nice exhaust hanger mounts coming off the transmission. Now these are tough, you'll probably need a breaker bar to get started, but you should be able to ratchet them off once you get it going. Ooh, just use some muscle. Now, the instructions say to pull these back onto the resonator piping. And so looking at these now that they're disconnected, it's fine to leave them hanging off the transmission mount. I don't see how they'll go anywhere. Just obviously don't hang on them, don't use them for leverage. So now I'm kind of thinking maybe we remove the exhaust entirely. I know the instructions kind of have us cutting in place, but it sure feels like it'd be easier to cut it on the ground. Maybe we just pop this whole thing off. We have these active exhaust system thingies here, and it looks like there's a little white push pin that you have to pull out, like towards the wire. Here's the cable from the active exhaust system that I had to disconnect in order to drop the rear section. And essentially you want to push up and on this white tab and then pull up. And I used a screwdriver just to very slightly pry it up. Obviously I can't show you from behind here. There's no room to stick a camera. Same deal. Works the same. So I think for these last exhaust hangers that are right up here, why don't we just unbolt them from the car? I don't think we have to do the whole prying thing. I don't really see anything else. I think it'll just come out. This thing is not light, fellas. What I've done now is flip the exhaust section so it is facing as if we're under the car. So earlier when we were looking up, that's the way it looks looking down right now. And I've attached our new ECS Tuning X-pipe to mate up with the mounts of our existing exhaust. Once you're positive that that edge is totally flush, you can move over to the other side and start marking where to cut on the existing pipe. It's important that you mark it correctly, and you can actually see the pipe isn't perfectly round before you make the cut. I'm going to use this piece of cardboard box to indicate where we need to cut. And same deal over here. So there we go. Those are going to be our cut lines. Very clean cut. I like these new blades. I was using the Milwaukee brand blades before and they were so dull. You can kind of see what I meant about the flat spot over here. Because I used a bandsaw, my cuts are incredibly clean. I am still going to deburr this, but just hitting it with a grinder really quick. I will leave a link to that bandsaw in the description, so if you're curious, do check that out. It's a really good tool. That's it, guys. If you don't have a flap wheel on your grinder, just a file will do this. We can begin to do the reinstall of our exhaust. I think I'm going to try the back section on its own. I'm gonna tighten them up a little bit, but probably not all the way. I would say just enough that they're still kind of loose because we gotta fit the rest of the piping up. You can use the jack stand to raise and lower as needed. Before adding the X pipe, we do need to fit these 55mm sleeves on, and actually I'll probably go the other way. And then, you know, have them with the nut side down because that's how you're gonna torque. Yeah, I think this will be okay. And I can't really push it on any further in there, but keep in mind, we still have to align the tips and all that good stuff. Like we're not done yet. You want to slide your X pipe over the brace. All right, I think I found the way. There we go. And now take your two larger clamps and slide them on. Way. And now what you want to do is get your exhaust hangers back into place into the rubber bushing mount things. I've got this Valvoline general purpose grease. Run it on the nib here, or whatever you call it, I don't know. I'm making up words. And the same on the one in the back. And putting them on, guys, I promise you is way easier than taking them off. Let's get the back one lined up and then we'll finish the front one. There we go. Bring these into place. Same thing here. So guys, now what we have to do is go to the back of the car and see how much we need to push the exhaust forward and kind of get things aligned. You may need to snug down some of the clamps to do this. I'm gonna show you kind of a wide view. It's kind of hard to show individual pieces of this. You'll understand what I mean when you're doing it. Essentially what we're looking at here is how much we need to bring our jack up because clearly these are, you know, still too low. And of course, if you got a buddy who can just help you push up, that's, you know, half the battle there. And what I'm gonna do now is torque the hangers down that we left a little loose here. Now we've got 17s in the back here, and I'm gonna tighten them down just a little bit, just to keep them from moving, because I think they're in a good spot. Make sure all of our exhaust hangers are pointing slightly forward. There we go. And you definitely don't want your exhaust clanging around on stuff. It's gonna cause false knock. The computer's basically gonna think you have detonation going on and pull timing and slow the car down. You know, it won't make as much power. We should now be good to tighten these up, but you still wanna push up on this. So we've got our torque wrench at 25 Newton meters. Let's make sure we're torqued. Wow, it's very close. We were very close. That was 24 and a half. Let's get it to 25. There we go. That one was there. Let's do these back ones. Per the instructions, you want to give these 500 miles and then retorque, make sure they're still good. Assuming you took your exhaust all the way off the car, you will need to reconnect these bad boys. I want to take a quick pause to let you know that I have a link to the product we're installing today down below in the description. It's an ECS Tuning affiliate link, and if you click through and buy anything at all on ECS Tuning's website, I will receive a small commission that helps support this channel at no added cost to you. So now that we've installed, seen, and heard the ECS Tuning X pipe, let's talk a little about the build quality, the install difficulty, and whether or not I'd recommend it. The pipe itself seems to be of a thick enough material. I would be comfortable making something out of that thickness of material to hold up for years to come, and it did fit up perfectly. As long as you cut and measure well, I had no problems with the fit. As far as the ease of installation, I would have to give this probably a 2 wrench out of like 5. I think removing it off the car is not necessary, but maybe easier for some of you guys that don't want to stick a Sawzall in there, potentially hit your drive shaft, but it can clearly be done on the car too, especially if you use that little exhaust cutter that they're recommending, that little chain one. I've never used one of those personally. Anecdotally, I've been told they take a while to cut through. One thing to note is that you do have to go back and torque down the connections. They were definitely loose after about maybe 4 good heat cycles. So I did lift it back up just to make sure, and I cinched them down, and they were way out of torque spec. On a Mustang, I actually saw a young man who had an exhaust that was installed and it was never like retorqued later on, and he was driving and the exhaust came loose and it basically pole vaulted his car, absolutely totaled the vehicle. Luckily he was not hurt, but it is a real risk. It's especially with it being multiple sections, there's more risk of something coming loose, which is why a muffler shop would weld those rear sections and only keep the fronts. But of course, ECS Tuning realizes you probably don't have a welder, so you're not doing that. I do have a welder and I may go back and weld that together. I'm still kind of playing with the sound. So let's talk about that sound. Overall, I think under heavy throttle, when you're having fun and mashing around in that car, it is a good sound. The crackles and pops are way more pronounced, it's throatier, it's just more fun. And with the valves closed on the highway, there is not much noise. I tried going 80 on cruise control in 8th gear, sounded pretty much stock, maybe a very slight rumble with the valves closed. However, with the valves open, there is definitely drone. The valves are open right now, I'm in Sport Dynamic, and yeah, if you step on the gas a little, it is just drone city. So the question is, do you normally ride around with the valves closed if you're just trying to make a phone call? You know, like, this is fine. I'm going 64 right now, and it's perfectly fine with the valves closed. I'll have to see how I feel about it. Like today I drove it, was having fun, and it was awesome. Initially, when I was putting them in, I heard some people say it's droney, and I was like, well, maybe these guys are being too sensitive. But even for me, and I am not sensitive at all, this Mustang here sounds like, you know, a demolition derby. It's insane how loud this thing is. And I'm not sensitive. And even I found it a little droney. And with the valves closed, if you do get into the throttle heavily, there is still some drone. But if you're just kind of coasting around normally in D, it is sounding mostly stock. As far as the overall loudness, it's not that much louder. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it was easy for you guys to follow, and it'll be helpful for you if you're considering or about to install this product. And if you enjoyed it, I'd love a thumbs up, I'd love a comment. And of course, if you want to subscribe to the channel, more Audi content is coming, and I will catch you guys again real soon.